Hi, welcome to Shelf Starters. Today we are talking about some mystery plays.
Yes, starting with the York play of the Crucifixion and then going to our Shepherds.
Second Shepherd's play.
Yes.
So do you want to explain what mystery plays are? They're not like Agatha Christie plays.
No, they're not. They're massive. They're essentially retelling the Bible. And they are huge productions that were funded by guilds in towns. So basically, the whole town was taken over with the production of this big, huge play that was following the whole of the Bible, not just a small little section, but it to go from beginning through to the very end.
Yeah, and it was done on festival days. So 2 days was Corpus Christi, and what was the other one? Whitsuntide.
Yes, that's right. Yes, and so they're also called the Passion plays, aren't they? Because they're particularly focused on Christ and the suffering.
Yeah, well, that's like the climax of the sequence. So it's like a cycle of plays.
Yes.
That run from. They said it starts like on those days, those festival days when they have it. It can start as early as 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
With the first play, and then it doesn't finish until like well after midnight. So it takes all day, and they actually have like each little guild, so like little I guess group of people in the town,
or the whatever. Yes.
Bakers, etc.
Yes.
They put on their own little scene from the play, and they're responsible for all of it. So like, they produce it, direct it, hire the actors, everything. They do all the auditioning, and they have to build their own stage, which they did on wagons.
Yeah, amazing. So
it's really cool,
like a touring circus almost. Like that.
Yeah, and they would go in lots of different little spots, so they wouldn't just perform their play once. They perform it once, and then they'd move on to the next bit, and then do it again.
That's right. And they do this still in Europe.
Yeah,
you can still go to one of these events. I think like at Easter time is a big.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I think they were talking about in this. So I got this is the full York cycle.
Right. Yes.
Which is the York cycle is the largest surviving one of. It was done all around England, but York is the place where we have most of the plays remaining.
Yeah.
And it was saying in here that there are two places that did it really successfully, like the full morning till night thing, with everyone building their own wagons and all of that, like the whole traditional style.
Yeah.
Which one was the University of Leeds.
Yes.
And the other one was, I think, somewhere in Toronto.
Yep.
Which is weird.
I know, but sounds right.
Yeah.
Amazing. It would have been.
But really cool that they like that. It really reminded me of it's very like weird, but it really reminded me of Gilmore Girls, when the whole town would like get involved in putting on productions and stuff. Absolutely. Like local community theatre stuff.
Yes, and the whole kind of saga aspect of it, like the ongoing and the kind of physical involvement of everybody. I've never really been to anything quite like that. The closest I think we've had here in Australia would be Cloud Street. So Tim Winton's enormous family saga, that novel, was written as a play, and the play went over. Well, you could go either one night and watch the whole thing in one go, and it was very, very, very long, obviously, and you'd have dinner breaks and everything, or it was over a couple of nights. And it's been done again with another Australian saga story, which is Ruth Park. Her story of, that starts in Sydney and goes over a couple of generations. So that I think it was now probably 2 years ago. It's been so long since we've had proper theatre, but that's what I think it was.
They also did it with Harry Potter and the Cursed Child as well. And the other thing that was like, I guess, that was a horrible screenplay, but it was a very good play to attend. Because it was all about the sort of special effects and stuff like that. That's what made it actually good. But the part about bringing the audience in, like, it really did come off the stage. It was like there's certain points where the entire theatre is involved in it, and so that's kind of similar.
Yeah, so that's probably as close as we've been. Would be really
Mm.
interesting if any of our listeners have been to.
Yeah, been to a mystery play.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
All right, so should we talk about the York play of the Crucifixion?
Yeah, so this was the more, well, it was the cruel one of the two. This one was quite, because it's literally just about building a cross to crucify Christ on. And it was the soldiers who were doing the building. And they're just so completely heartless, without any feelings at all. And it was quite hard to read, I think.
Well, they just they don't really treat him as a person. They're just thinking about getting a job done.
Yep, pretty much.
They talk a lot about like how far apart the nails are.
And they miscalculate that. I read that part that really upset me. So that
they stretch too far.
Yeah, it was horrible to read, because I mean, we know these things, but when you read it like this, it makes you really, really think about that. Like,
it was like fictional, making it more dramatic, I guess, or dramatizing it. But I found out that they did repeat this like in different ways, but they repeated this phrase that was like all about, we have to get this agreement done. So it's all about just fulfilling their contract. That's right.
But this bit, I hated this bit. Yea, asunder are both sinews and veins on ilka side. So have we sought. Now all his gourds, nothing him gains. It made me feel like quite sick, like literally talking about muscles being torn.
Yeah, gross.
Oh, gosh, it was horrible. And and then just kind of like, it would be this badge of honor to have him hanging up. Like it was.
It's quite dramatic as well. So he the way that it's staged is really clever, because he's lying down for the majority of it. Jesus is lying down, so he's not really visible so much to the audience. It's all about just the soldiers making the cross, and then there's a big moment where they rise
it up,
the cross.
So that would have been really confusing.
And you sort of, because they're just rambling on about their work and stuff, you sort of like forget that what we're really talking about until you see
they're not just building a cabinet. It's not. I know, it's awful. But
and then Jesus only speaks 2 times in the whole thing. And the second time he talks to the audience. He says, all men that walk by way or street. And that kind of brings, it's like as though the audience is the actual like people who were watching when this.
So the audience would have made complicit at this point. Which would have been, I think, obviously that would be really
very upsetting,
really emotional. And he talks about his torment, but he's still talking about saving their souls. It's forgive these men that do me harm, that do me torment. That they, and that famous, they don't know what they do.
They don't know what they do. Which is what they work, which they not. Is apparently they know what they do. And then,
and it goes from that to the ending with the soldiers. Okay, we've done we're wasting our time here. Let's move.
Done this job, on to the next.
Let's move on. It's pretty powerful stuff.
I found it actually like upsetting, but a good read.
Me too. Really good read.
And then the next one that we have, so that's from the York cycle, which is the most famous cycle because it's the one that was most from.
York was the most prosperous town, wasn't it?
Yeah, and actually there was a really interesting thing that said that when York was at its most prosperous was when the mystery plays were also the best. So I think York was like second only to London in like the most influential in England at the time. And I guess. And then it declined as the economy declined. So I guess it makes sense, but like because it's an expensive undertaking.
Hugely. To take over.
To put it all on. Whole town for a full day.
I know. So yes, we go from that to the actual mystery, the cycle of plays. And we're on the
Wakefield's second Shepherd's Play, which is from, where's the little spot? Townley, the Townley collection.
Yep.
So not from the York Cycle. And this one is, it's like, it is biblical, but it's not like a story from the Bible until the end.
No.
It's just about shepherds.
Yes, and it's like the generations, isn't it? It's like the older kind of. I'm not going to say wise so much as cynical.
Yeah.
Older, more cynical.
Yeah, and that was the interesting thing as well. So I actually had read that there wasn't much of a concept of history in, like, they didn't know much about history. Like, they didn't have, I guess, the resources that we have now to know about historical periods at this time when they were put on. So they didn't really know how people would have dressed.
No.
In the time that they were performing. So often they had, their costumes were just very much like what people would wear in common day.
Yes.
So
and the characteristics of just ordinary.
Now.
Yeah.
So now, they're talking about, like, these shepherds are just hanging out with their sheep, I guess, and they're complaining a lot about life as they know it, but it's not.
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah, but it's like concerns that would have been from the Middle Ages, not from the time that they're actually performing about. Like, they talk about taxes and
yes, they're big on taxes.
Gentlery men being hand tamed by these gentlery men.
Yep.
So they're like complaining about, like, their socio-political situation in the Middle Ages.
Yep. A lot of whinging goes on, sure.
And a lot of bit about wives, yeah.
I mean, Cole starts the play. So there's a list of characters who include...
With the weird names.
Sorry, Rosie, what did you say?
With very weird names.
Yeah, Cole, Gib, Dor, Mac, or Mark, however you say that. Gil?
Yeah.
Angel and Mary.
Or Jill. I read that one as Jill.
And I don't know. Yeah, Jill, yep. And, but Cole, yes, that was interesting. But Cole's the biggest, like, first whinger. Whoa.
Yeah, he rambles on for quite a while.
He really does. Weather, like, everything goes on and on.
About everything. Yeah, he's not happy in general.
No. As a hapless husband, but a husband doesn't mean of a wife. It means like a farmer, like husbandry, like animals.
Yes, but then he does complain about his wife as well.
But then he does. Yeah, it's confusing because he does. He goes straight on to the wife. How horrid and annoying she is. Yeah.
Yeah, they all complain about the wives. And I like this one. She is great as a whale.
Yeah.
She has a gallon of gall. She is browed like a bristle with a sourpuss cheer. Like, really nice.
I know.
Nice.
Yeah, wouldn't you love it if that's how you knew your husband described you? As like big as a whale with a beard, basically. Nice.
Yeah, excellent.
Really nice.
And then there's this Mac guy is supposed to be like the cheeky figure that's like that, what do you call it? Like the stock character kind of thing.
Yeah, like the Joker, sort of, not the Joker, the jester almost. Yeah.
And he decides to steal a sheep.
Yep.
And bring it back to, so when they all go back down to sleep. So, I mean, to be fair, they're all pretty crap shepherds if they're all going to go to bed at the same time and just hope that the sheep don't disappear. Like,
it's
kind of brought it on themselves, is my thinking.
Not a huge amount of dedication to the cause. Yep.
No, so they all go to sleep at the same time.
Yep.
And then he takes a sheep.
Yep.
And brings it home, and his wife suggests that they disguise it as her baby.
Yes. And then, so kind of this bordering on, is there any link to the actual Bible, the whole kind of story of the wool and the sheep and the...
It comes in at the end as well. So she puts him in her, like, I guess, in the barn.
Yep.
So with that parallel, yes, to Jesus's birth.
Yes.
Disguises him as a baby. And when they all wake up and realize the sheep's missing, they do go to his house and they, like, examine everything. They find the baby, basically. And then they're like, "You liar. How dare you? Your baby has a massive snout. Don't think that's the actual baby." There's a whole weird thing about that. But then at the very end, they get the angel Gabriel comes.
Yes.
And tells them, Jesus has been born. Do you want to come and see him in the manger? And so you actually do go, like they actually end up being the shepherds that went to see the birth of.
It's a bit weird, isn't it? Full on transition here.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's really random, but I guess that whole like hiding the sheep as a baby is like foreshadowing Jesus being in the barn as well.
Yeah. But it made me think of that story, the brothers in the Bible, the prodigal son and the whole sheep skin, the wool put on the face to trick the father. It's that story, Cain and Abel.
Oh, Cain and Abel. Okay, yeah.
Cain and Abel stuff. Yes, that's what it made me think of. I don't know that you're supposed to think that, but that is what it made me think of. But I like the stage directions.
Yeah, they're apparently the real ones.
Yeah, I know. And that's what's so funny, because it's not like a small piece. I mean, it's stage directions are things like they go to Bethlehem.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, how's that happen on a wagon?
In a play, a little wagon. They just go to Bethlehem. Yep. No, I love it. It's quite hilarious.
And then to the stable. So apparently, actually, when there were multiple locations, because they were doing it on this one wagon kind of thing that they have built themselves, and apparently it's not really like wagons like we're thinking of wagons now. Like it would have looked very different, and it wasn't drawn by animals; it was drawn by humans. So yeah, I guess everyone would have designed it depending on what they needed to do.
Yeah, what they would do is arrive, like set it up in the square, in the town square.
Yeah. So they needed to be able to move it because they needed to go to multiple different stations. Yeah. But they also needed it to work for whatever the part of the cycle they're doing.
Yeah. Like now
so they design it in their own way. But they used to use the wagons as like one place. And then if they had to go to another place, they might be like down in the audience for the other place to show like inside and outside and that sort of like differences.
I mean, it's interesting because it is the beginnings of theatre, obviously, but it is kind of like the pantomime kind of notion, isn't it?
Yes.
Like the panto, arrives in town.
That's the word I was looking for the other day when I was trying to explain it.
Yeah, panto. That's kind of where it kind of all stems from. And elements of this apparently are reflected in what Marlowe was doing with Faustus, with that idea of, characters that are representative of and calling on aspects of the Bible and asking the audience to transition, to far and wide within the play. So yeah, it's a tradition that has been reflected in theatre.
Oh yeah, it's definitely been a lasting one.
Yeah.
And I think I might read. So yeah, I only read the two in here.
Yes.
But I have got the whole York cycle, and I've got English mystery plays, which is a random selection, I think. Okay. It has some of the York ones, but it had the Second Shepherd's one in here, and it has like some other ones.
The other place, Rosie, was Chester, wasn't it?
Yes, it's got Chester and Townley as well as York.
Yep, right.
And some other Coventry, and a couple of other places. So that could be interesting. And they're not hard to read.
No, they're not. Well, this one, I know that this Shepherd's one was one of them translated by the highly educated cleric, who they now call the Wakefield Master. So he was stationed somewhere near Wakefield, apparently, and he was really known as the genius man who was able to combine comedy and kind of farce with religion. That was his thing. And he's the guy behind these plays that we've got.
And the one from this one, the York ones, is the York Realist. Yeah.
So that's probably quite different. I don't know what that's like to read in comparison.
It's not hard to read. I found this is a very a formatting thing that I find difficult. Is the Norton is so well designed because it's got the gloss on the right, so it's really easy. Read, and it's got extra notes at the bottom.
Extra notes you can just quickly look up. Yep, it's very.
But then both of these editions that I have here, the gloss is all down the bottom.
Annoying.
So they're not next to the actual line. Yeah. And the words aren't marked in the way the Norton has this little circle next to the words
so that we know to quickly look. Yes.
So yeah, you kind of have to just read. You have to be skimming your eyes between the two all the time, which is, I think, more difficult. But there aren't many words that I wouldn't know. It's not actually not that
hard.
old, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like that back and forth, like not sure if you've understood the word or not, because like a lot of the time I find that there is a word that I know, but it has a different meaning in the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
So I like don't realize I don't know it unless I have
and you
seen
have
the gloss.
Yeah, which that's exactly right. Yeah.
But the problem is that if you think you know it, you're not going to skim down to the bottom of the page to find it.
No.
Whereas when it's next to it, I don't know, it's just easier.
Yeah, much.
That's a small thing, but I'm sure I will still be able to get through it.
Of course you will. But it just makes it a little less easy. That's all. A little less comfortable.
Yeah, a little bit less. So after these mystery plays, we're now on to
there's also in the mystery plays, you know, that you've got also the full gamut of things. So you've got full on choir kind of behavior, like big singing.
Oh yeah, they do have people singing. Yeah.
Yeah. So it does encompass a lot, not just in terms of setting, but it's very, very physical.
Yeah.
What actors have to do.
Well, you'd have to think like they're amongst a massive crowd of people who are probably being really noisy.
Yeah, that's right. And
they have to really exaggerate. Apparently, when they're talking about the auditioning process and that sort of thing, like how they would get actors, the biggest thing was like you can't be inaudible, so you have to be able to really project your voice.
Well, yeah.
But also their style of acting was very much like over the top with lots of gestures, because that's how you make yourself understood in a massive crowd.
Do you know, when Jackie and I were in Versailles, they had Moliere. They had a Moliere.
Oh yeah, lots of farce.
Yeah, and it was done in the town square, and everyone was watching, like walking around and talking to each other, but like generations. It was the thing to do. So it kind of reminds me of that. Like I have felt what it's like. There is nothing like that going on in Sydney.
Well, you have Shakespeare in the Park.
Yes,
but everyone's like quiet and watching it. It's more like it is an actual play. It's just outside.
Like basically the inside of a theatre, only it's outside. But it's not very different. It's not walking around. It's not having your general day-to-day living all around.
Yeah. Like, I think the choice of play would be really important, because it needs to be something where like it doesn't matter if you just see a bit of it.
Yeah, you don't want to miss it. Yeah, you can't be, I've missed that line and now I don't understand.
Yeah, Moliere I think is good for that, because it's just like funny and it's got those like hilarious rhyming couplets and things that are just like,
and that's how they
you could just see a little bit of that and you'd get the point.
Yep. Kind of like, yes, an exaggerated, like Punch and Judy kind of exaggerated as well.
Yeah.
So yes, anyway, sorry, I interrupted. You were saying.
I was just going to say the next bit is your favorite, the talking animals.
Oh, yes, I can hardly wait.
So I wanted to see what you want to do with that. Do you want to read all of them at once? There's 3 in here. But then Henryson's in here, then he comes back.
The Parliament of Birds, do we include that?
Yeah, so it's Marie de France again. Chaucer again, and then Henryson, and Henryson has 1 in this section, and then there's, for some reason, there's a little gap, and then he comes back. So I thought maybe we should just do all Henryson.
Oh yes, that's the cock and the jasper, that thing. Yeah,
like that's talking animals too, so I don't really know why it's not in that section.
That's a bit weird.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Let us know if you have actually seen anything remotely similar to a mystery play in that like community theatre sense.
Hear about that. That would be good.
Yeah. And we'll see you again next time for some talking animals.
Can't wait.
Right. Thanks. Bye.